Start out with pull types, Gale, Holland, all the way through them. Deer, when Dwayne came over, all of a sudden they turned green. The 5000s, dabbled with 6000s, didn't like them. Got some Claases in, they were a little strange, but after takes a little getting used to, nothing special. I love them. We got some John Deere trainings out there that keeps trying to get somebody to work on it. Ain't gonna be me.
You company man or what?
What's the saying that hat? Jason's gonna go over Lyndon. Lyndon's gonna go over his this unit. I'm gonna cover discharge from the cover head and back. Ask questions. We're gonna be here tonight at noon, tomorrow afternoon, whatever. If you want to ask specifics, but ask questions now. Good? It's all yours.
All right, I'm Lyndon Luckson, engineer for Shearer. Processors is my deal. That's what I work on pretty much all the time. So if you guys have any questions or concerns or problems, let me know, because I'm always trying to make the product better. As far as my spiel for the day, if you don't take anything else away from today, remember this. At the end of the year, when you get done with corn silage, make sure you're getting the KP out of that fork harvester. Our design on the bearing housing, it's an open void, it's a bearing bath, and with the cold nights and warm days, if there's muck and other crap sitting around this thing, that open void will start to breathe and it'll draw in any type of moisture into that bearing housing and start to get rust and condensation inside those bearing housings. So bottom line, get it out of the machine, get it blown off and put it in the shed. If you don't have time to service it until later, that's fine, just get it out of the machine. Another thing is compressed air works really well for cleaning. Do not power wash these unless you're going to immediately service it afterwards. And what I mean by service it, get it opened up, get the bearing housings opened up, get the oil and any type of moisture out of the bearing housing, and get fresh oil in it. Other things to look for year to year in the off season, you want to be checking out these seals between the two frame halves. There's also seals around the top. Make sure those seals are in good condition. Anytime they're ripped, it's going to start to leak corn juice, and once it starts, it typically just gets worse. So keeping everything clean helps the bearings a lot, helps the rest of the machine too. Another thing to look for on an annual basis is replacing these. They fit right up here. They go down in between the rolls, keep kernels from coming around the edges of the rolls. Our new KP, I don't have it here with, but our new KPs actually have these on the underside too to help funnel the corn away from the edge of the rolls so we don't get kernels coming through that way. And what to look for roll wear. The way the machine funnels the feed underneath the KP, it tends to bunch up the feed along the edges of the rolls. That's where your rolls are going to wear first. This is an older Claas roll, and you can see the divot more on each end. Our roll is wider, so we can try to spread that feed out a little bit more so you don't have as defined of a wear spot, but it will tend to wear on the outsides first. And with this style of roll, what to look for when they start to wear is right now the sides of the tooth are real nice and defined and straight across the top. When they start to get worn, it'll be just like a dome across there when you look at it. They won't be sharp anymore, they'll just be real rounded.
Mine's go from like right here to right there on one side.
Could be because the feed is coming in more on one side. If you have any type of ash on the plant or your chain you're going around, it's out where your chain's at. It could be that one side is tighter than the other, so it's wearing more. There's a few other, few possibilities that could be. But how much is it real noticeable on one side?
I got a picture. I'll show you later. I'm not complaining. I just
wondering why it's more on that side. I have a customer that over in Michigan, they run two 960s, and they run two of them together in the same field. One guy does all the opening, and then the other guy just follows behind him, and they chop that way all day, every day. And they were wondering why one KP is wearing worse than the other. It was always the lead machine that was worse. Well, when there's a lot of gravel roads in the area, they're always opening up with that machine. It's always drier around the edge of the field, and you'd see a significant difference just between the two machines running side by side. So all that, ash content comes into play. How it fits into the machine. I guess belts. If you ever have a belt issue, something's not set up right. Our processors, no matter how big or small of a machine, shouldn't have problems with belts. If there is, you got to look at tensioning and then look at pulley alignment. These guys here, when they set up the pulleys, they actually use a laser tool to set these up. Using a straight edge is a good way to get an idea of what's going on. However, these actually go off the middle of the groove on the pulleys, and what we really need to line up is the groove of each pulley to the groove of each pulley. The outsides are typically different thickness, so from one pulley to the next you can never get it exactly where it needs to be. If you ever are lining up pulleys, make sure that you're lining up off of the accelerator pulley. The bottom pulley is welded to the frame, the idle pulley down at the bottom, and that's welded off at an angle, so don't let that screw with you. It's welded off at an angle, so when you put it under tension, you get the machine under load, it pulls it back up parallel with the rest of the system. So, I guess as far as overall, that's the biggest points I have to talk about. Is there any other specific questions or concerns for anybody? Anything to add?
No, talk about speed differential.
No, we didn't. Speed differential. Some people have been asking about speed differential. We run around a 30% differential on our shredlage KPs. Our standard ones are about 22. Depending on what you're doing and what you're trying to achieve, cutting shorter, cutting longer. There are several different speed differentials available and different roll corrugations available. So if you are interested in doing something different or getting a better result, depending on what you're doing, there are options available.
Everybody understands the front roll is the one that spins faster, the back one's trying to hold the stuff from not going through, and the front one's trying to cram it through.
that's what tears it apart.
That's what tears it apart.
If you're looking at bearing temperatures, it's pretty common to have anything below 100 degrees over ambient air is pretty typical. Anything below that, 80 to 100 degrees over. So if it's an 80 degree day, it's nothing to see all the way up to 180 degrees.
That's where my alarm goes. It starts to beep.
It starts beeping at 200. It'll actually bring up a visual alarm on the display at 180, and at 200 it'll start beeping.
That's when you got to clean the debris out on the other side.
It typically
Or you
helps.
find that you didn't blow it out good enough the night before, for a week maybe.
That'll definitely help. Keeping it clean makes the bearings run a lot cooler. And if you've noticed on these, on the idle side up against the frame of the machine when they're inside, it's virtually impossible to clean those. On our newer KP, we went to a thinner bearing housing, a bigger shaft, and now there's actually about an inch gap between the bearing housing and the frame. So you can get in there and clean it up.
That's a new bearing you can put on the old processor?
No, it's only on new ones because the shaft is bigger, so it won't fit through the frame. The placement of the bearing housing on the frame is different. It's altogether different, so it's not as simple as just bolting one. We wanted to make too many changes to really make it retrofit to the old frame.
Which works better?
Yes, we tried the width of these newer ones is actually wider. No, the width is actually the same. The roll width is the same. We just changed the placement of the bearing on the shaft. On the drive side, we moved the bearing out towards the pulley. The closer we can get to the pulley, the less stretch we have on the chain.
Your processor questions.
Is this, I mean, so some people talk about processing, totally obliterating the corn. As long, where do you, I guess, where's everybody,
We tried to destroy it.
just destroy it. Just destroy it. Do you run any shredless processors or just shear? This is a shredless.
Yeah, we run the shear without because we kind of shorter because they have other stuff.
They don't want long.
They don't need it because they have other stuff.
Well, if you did it, they'd like it.
Yeah, we did it. And it didn't work. So
They don't want to pay.
No.
I'm just asking.
It didn't work.
Because I have a
But
customer
it's
now.
different. It's different. Whatever the other stuff they feed is just different. So it didn't work.
Well, I think you're in a unique situation with a lot of byproduct.
Yes,
I have
right.
customers that 2 years. I've had one for 3 years. When I bought it, the first deal, we were over in the little fairgrounds building. I grew up on a dairy, and he said 2 pounds more milk and better butter fat. I didn't completely understand what this did. I just knew it was a good thing. And I have customers that don't want to go back to shortcut corn because it costs them money. I'm not getting paid $1 more than Calvin, and he doesn't have one. And my processor costs 3 times as much as his, or at least twice. But it makes more milk. We can stand here all day and argue, but there's a difference. So you did a good job, but I'm not sure how to get paid more for doing it.
Raise the rate.
We'll do it cheaper.
All right, let's go down here and look at this. Start at this end and work our way back. They're going to debate that all day, aren't they? More milk than shred leaves or not more milk? And over the years, I've seen this so many times with the nutritionists, and no matter what, it's never the formula's problem if they're down on milk. It's always the feed. Well, if it's a nutritionist, most of them work for the grain company, so we know where they're going. It's always the guy that chopped the feed.
It all depends on which the nutritionist we work with. She said she does like shredding. It's not going to go shredding. She doesn't want to go shredding.
And it's all about that preference. And
She's the one that
as funny as it is, it seems like the nutritionists run the show.
Yeah.
You might be able to milk cows, but you don't know how to feed them. So. All right. Okay. When Dwayne was talking about the speed bump and the smooth wall scraper and stuff, I thought, okay, well, I got the rest of the speed bumps in my booth. This is the tunnel from the back of the cutter head up to the grass chute or KP. This actually came out of a machine that we. No, it's actually one of ours. It's a trade-in that we haven't gone through yet. I pulled this out yesterday. Thought, well, I better clean it up. And at first glance, it was all rusty. Oh, well, that slide's not going to give me any examples of anything. So I started wire brushing it. All these circles are on wear spots Feed's coming off here, hitting here. A giveaway for this is these divots behind the bolts. When that starts to wear and going away, it's gonna start going quick. Once you have a washout, it's like a gravel road. Once you get a bump, the bump gets bigger. Now for like Fletcher and you guys, where you get the Mad Jag panels, it's a whole different world. Fletcher, how long have you running the floor pieces? Can you get a season out of them, the big Mad Jag ones?
Oh, we just stick in there forever.
Forever.
We stick them out in welds and more hard faces.
Okay.
Just vertical lines up and down.
No, just wherever
it's washed out.
It barely even wears out just what the welds have left it on. And so we just welded the cracks apart.
But Carl, what you gotta realize
Well,
is,
see, he's chopping sand.
Right.
We're not.
we run this style blower back. Over there, they'll last. Can you get 2 days?
Your chopper will be better with this stuff if you don't have to have it.
Exactly. Can you get it 2 days out of a standard blower back?
Oh, yeah. But
2, maybe 3. That's what they're saying. The guys from Sunnyside, when our Pasco were saying they could get 3 days.
It'll blow better and everything with this stuff in it.
It's smoother. It's smoother. But we've been sticking in. A couple people have tried the heavy-duty blower backs here. They love them. Somebody's running one that I gave him a long time ago because we took it all out because we didn't believe in it because we thought it was causing issues. And I think he's on his 3rd machine with the same waveform, if you can imagine. So, just something to be aware of. On this head, somebody asked me what fire this came out of. It didn't come out of a fire. This rubber flap, it's still here, about that much of it. When I pulled the cutter head off this thing, there was a mound of rotten, stinky, nasty feed sitting there. That leads to multiple problems. You got a fire hazard back here behind your sharpener. You've got feed for the rats, and you got an airflow issue. You got places for feed to start coming out. So if it's coming out there, it's not going back. Anytime you get feed sticking to something where it's not supposed to go, you've got a flow problem. You know, they're talking about the pulses. Well, you do so good to get the pulses coming through right, and as soon as you get back here, you start screwing up the pulses because those pulses are getting broke up. You got feed that's not going where it's supposed to, and it's dropping down, it's slowing down the rate. So, if you see this I'm going to replace because I like spending Blaine's money, but if you start seeing divots like that, especially this time of year in these pans, get them out of there. Save it for making a patch for something else. But get rid of this stuff. On the head of the bolt, that's a new bolt, and that bolt starts looking like that, it's about done. It's pretty thin. Don't, when you get these plow bolts, don't, when it starts to spin, put your finger on it and hold it down against that square hole. You get a thumb with a scar, just like that. It's a perfect circle. And it bleeds really good. So, yes?
Is this the door?
This is the door.
Okay.
This is the hydraulic door on yours.
Okay.
Yep, okay.
Making sure.
The seal across here where the grass chute sits,
Very important.
very important, especially in sticky material. If you got stuff that isn't blowing where the darn, you need to, they've got this airflow engineered. They know how much air you need to suck it in, and we know where it's coming from. The air they need is coming off your radiator. To suck that clean and off this side. So don't give it any more than it needs. They've planned that out. That's why they pay somebody big money. So keep the seals on here, the seals on the top of your grass chute. Should have grabbed the grass chute, but I didn't. Okay, when this is sitting up here, it's pretty obvious how the grass flow goes. You can see the rust spot here, it's coming off here and hitting right into here. This one's got a dent in it, it's starting to wash out right across here. It'll work, but it's, like I say, as soon as it starts washboarding, you're going to start, the wear's going to be twice as fast. Change it out, build it up, chrome it. You guys are big on chroming over there, no? Do you get Mad Jag one of those?
The new stuff that Claas makes is so good.
Is it good?
It's not worth the money.
Perfect. See, I wanted to hear somebody say that. Claas is offering Mad Jag panels, the tower liners, the blower back, the side plates here.
They'll be there for a long time.
Really good. Because, you know, you're my test guy, by the way.
You didn't tell him that though.
No, He doesn't get a discount. There's no discounts. We don't do that. But that was good to hear because the tower liners, like okay, Magic stuff's expensive. A normal blower back, and this is the old heavy duty stuff. A normal blower back, like most of us use, $139, $140. That Magic panel is $863. What am I on? $869.
Holy mackerel.
But
Lasts this forever though.
it will last a long time. I'm not gonna. Nothing lasts forever. So it's good stuff. It's expensive, but like you said, I mean, you guys know where he's from. He's from the desert, so they're chopping sand. Nothing wears faster. It lasts for a long time for him. It'll last over here in our wetlands a long, long time. You guys' 960's got Magic blower back. I don't remember replacing it. It looks good. All the panels do. Yeah. So they ran a whole season on their 960 and everything looks good. So conditions, we always get that question, how long will something last? And I know the answer until it wears out. It's exactly the right answer. And there's every condition. You guys down in Tillamook are a different condition than what we are up here. And even across the, every area changes so much. It's mostly soil conditions and what you run through it. If you're running dry land corn through it, it's going to wear out quick. Especially if it's got sand mixed in with it. Any questions on the slide or the brass tunnels? We slide it in and it goes under those tabs. Older machines, I've been noticing that they don't fit so good. It's because the ears sticking out are bent like this. Get those things back up and square. It should be square across there and slide it in. It should go in tight. If it's not tight, and watch your processors, the shear isn't as bad as if you got an older Claas one especially, those bolts that it slides under, those are actually bolts. You can adjust them to make sure that stuff stays in there tight. That's a big issue. If something's sitting up here chattering away, you got some edges going to show up somewhere. Accelerator cans last year. Lost my guy. Last time we handouts, and this is things that Mark wants you to know or that you should know. It's part numbers for owner's manuals, electrical books, repair manuals, all that kind of stuff. Well, it's not all of it, but it's a good idea, and some special tools. The example that I like to use is it's 10 o'clock at night, and you're jobbing, and all of a sudden your lights go out, and you check the fuse is good. I'm in Timbuktu in Medford, Forrest is somewhere else. And you want to know which relay it is for that side of the lights. That $122 for the electrical book, especially because it's going to rain and your customer's dancing on one foot and you've got no headlights. That $122 for the electrical book is nothing, because he's going to be mad. So I would say, whatever machine you're running, get the books. The service manual will have how to set up accelerators, gearboxes. It's going to cover it all. I mean, it's in there as much as what we're going to have. The book you can buy is the same book we use. It is going to be available. Mike doesn't know it yet, but he's going to put them in digital form and on memory sticks for whatever he decides it costs him to do it. Craig or somebody's going to do it.
Yeah, just listen. Don't comment.
It'll be on our website.
Yeah, it'll be on the website eventually, but if you buy the book for $20 or whatever it is extra, we'll put them on a memory stick. Whatever to be determined, we just came up with this last night. So if you're the younger generation, you want it on the memory stick. Older guys always like it in the book form, or both. Because it's always nice to have a little memory stick you can keep in the glove box, the truck, or wherever. The book can stay in the shop. If you have those books, it will solve you a lot of headaches. One other thing that came out when we were at Claas, everybody has a bad habit, not everybody. Some people are more grown up than others. You know the old trick when somebody drives by and whip the deflector up on your sidewall and blast them in the window? Last year in Kansas, somebody did it. The guy had just turned around and got him both eyes. So it's not funny anymore. Just be aware of that. I've seen operators, everybody's seen them do it, but just be really careful. Because he was right next to the spout. They got him. So just get on your operators. If you're an operator, don't do it. Everybody loves to do it. Especially in corn. So, anyway, enough bad notes. Accelerator paddles. Multiple choices of paddle designs. If you use the finger paddle, remember to stagger them every other paddle as it goes around. Some people are switching back and forth, you guys are running 2 and 2, be real careful to use the right bolts and the right paddle.
Dan will only give you the small shoulder ones.
Is that always good?
Even for the flat paddles.
Oh, really? Okay. Maybe they switched away from it, because what's happened in the past is you drop a bolt, you go down and just grab a bolt out of the bin, and all of a sudden the shank is about that much too long. It will suck into the opening, into there, and it will feel tight until you start chopping, and it'll start chattering. This paddle will break off about right there. It'll come right out of there. So just be careful of it.
What's the advantage to running some smooth paddles?
Gummy conditions. We just got a bulletin from Claas last night. And gummy conditions, what they're saying is make sure that the gap on the bottom of here to the bottom of your cutter head is 1/4 inch or less.
How do you adjust that?
On yours, the cylinders on the base of the cylinder slides. You can adjust the base. On the other ones, you got an adjustable linkage on both sides.
Oh, the base on the cylinder?
Yeah, on that transmission. So keep that as tight as you can, and then go to and sticky stuff, go to flats. But they're saying never go closer to the blower back than 2 millimeters. And then they say, if you have to, with flats, you can go a little closer. But these things are noisy. I wouldn't do it. Because they already got it. The reason that they originally went to the finger paddle was to get away from the pinch point. Now they're saying real gummy stuff, and they're talking about that, that sticky alfalfa, that stuff, where the complete inside of the can is built up. And over here, I don't know, are you guys using drip inoculant? Or are you using just the Claas system? Okay. So if you spray your inoculant in, and the factory's got it dumping out on this side, the can always builds up on this side. You get way more buildup. Several people have gone and put a T in here and a valve and dumping it back into here, drilling a hole here and dumping it in this side so they can, but don't try to run 2 because you won't have enough pressure to keep the nozzles clear. You gotta have a valve. And switch every hour or whatever, back and forth, or whenever you notice it's starting to howl and growl and make more noise, and try to keep it washed out. It's just that little bit of moisture in the can will keep the buildup out. I know John shaking his head, yeah, he's seen it where this side of the can is clean and this side will be built up just tight.
That way too.
You see that too? Yeah. Just little tips like that, it's things that everybody can learn from everybody else. In the past, last year, the year before, I showed how to set these bearings up, and I'm kind of avoiding that. Somebody listened to every word I said exactly, I guess, and they skipped one step that I did and didn't say to do. They set it up, and they left this setup washer between the bearing housing and the pulley.
They left it there?
Yeah, and then they put the pulley on, and they figured this shim replaced these washers. It went up in smoke. I'm surprised you could even turn it by the time we got this bearing tightened up. So I'm not telling you how to do it anymore. It's in the service book, and if not, if you can't find it in the service book, we can email you the instructions as they come from Claas. Because that guy was smoking mad. at me. So a lot of stuff.
He was mad at himself. He took it out on me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, thanks.
Somebody's got to be one. It's usually the John.
We're used to it, aren't we, Mike? Okay, the other thing that came up from Claas recently is 494 guys. I was so excited a couple months ago. The freight company lost a 492 Accelerator tower that was supposed to go to Canada, and they replaced it. Well, all of a sudden it turned up. So we bought it. Yeah, it turned up here. we got it from them. So I was so excited. I was going to have a 492 tower to put the whole tower together. It was going to be so cool for my display. But Ann's of you bought it a week ago. So my dad kind of ordered one. I thought, oh, cool, my ring's going to fit up there and all this stuff. Well, guess what? 494 stuff is bigger. Nothing fits. For people that don't know how this works, up here, you drop the ring gear in place. This plate bolts to the top of the tower with socket head bolts. Is clamped against here. This is what is holding your spout to the tower. This is what holds it in place. Everybody's seen those spouts that kind of flex around. Chances are these bolts have come loose. Once you get this bolted on here, and it's in that parts diagram that I gave you, is the newest version with the bearing plates and all that stuff. But then you put the plate on top there and you bolt it all together, and that stuff pivots around on this. This is all full of grease. These are the grease hoses that hook onto the bottom. They're hooked to here. When you start to get that flexing, you're going to want to check those bolts, or they go through here, or this ridge right here. That's all the surface that ring gear rode on 492, which isn't a lot, but it's enough. So, keep an eye on that. Make sure those bolts stay tight. Occasionally, it's not a bad idea to open it up and look in there. Okay, what they came out with in this bulletin, the new 494s, yours has got it, you guys have it. Do you have two springs? You know?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, hang on, you said open it up and look in there.
Pull the plate off. Make sure if you've got a plate that's tipping, when you raise the spout, when you go to raise your spout, if the plate tips up,
what plate are you talking about?
The upper plate, the spout is bolted to.
Okay.
492 guys at the same time. That plate, where the cylinder is, it raises the spout. Make sure that that bottom pin turns free if it's in a relaxed position, that it's not locked up. We've had some of those rust up, and you'll end up making cylinder pins. Actually, everybody knows. And what it'll do, yeah, eventually, if it locks up, it'll break the weldments right off the plate. Hydraulic power is a cool thing. Might work for explosive. Okay, it came out originally with one spring, and in your owner's manual, it'll give you a dimension. Top of my head, 492s was like 172 millimeters or what. So you adjusted these by this nut from the bottom really does nothing. It's a jam nut and a guide. When you go to make your spring adjustment, you tighten the nut from the top down. Get your 100 and whatever your dimension is, and just screw this piece up until it locks up against there, and it's done. Then they decided with these, when they went to 10 row heads, they had these spouts that are, as long as a semi. When if you were coming downhill and made a turn, specifically a left turn, with your side blown to the right, the spout wants to pass you. So they decided they need to lock it up a little tighter. So they came up with another spring and a different frame here, with another shaft coming across, with a mounting point right above there. And the hole in it is slotted. So they pulled this on us at school. Everybody knows how to adjust those springs. So we got to adjust the spring to a dimension. So yeah, we can do this. It's easy. So they had this whole thing up here. So everybody starts turning on this, and it wouldn't change. Okay, so we figured out, okay, there's a nut on the bottom. We're smart. Only took us about 4 days. And so we got the spring dimension right. He said, okay, now you got to adjust that. Start taking this loose. No, that doesn't work. This is actually a turnbuckle type linking, so you can crank it up or down. Okay. Probably in your owner's manual, it doesn't say a word about it. Doesn't give you mention.
I don't know.
What they want you to do is position it against the top of that slot and just make contact enough that you can still turn the pin and lock everything up. Tighten up the jam nuts and you're done. And that's supposed to be enough to help make it so it won't kick all the way out so easy. It'll still let it float just a little bit for out around on the ring gear or whatever as the spout's moving, but it will still keep the protection there. Those spouts, with a 10 row especially. And then if you look in that handout, it gives you different dimensions for the lengths of your spouts. Who'd have thought? But the other thing they say is when you're doing hay, they really want you to take those extensions out. Shorten that spout back up. You don't have to protect the head so much as the head's not sticking out there. So it's in a bolted, yes.
That extra squeeze, I can hold it and not wear out my
It won't change that a bit because it's really not putting any pressure on it until it tries to bypass it. You'd think they could have done it with one spring and just made it heavier, but whatever. On these bearings will float back and forth. Just a rule that they told us at Claas is on Claas machines, the right bearing on the accelerator, which is, this one's the one that clamps to the shaft, it's fixed to the housing, it's not moving, that side floats. Cutter head's the same way, it's always the right side. Lyndon, is it the right side on your processor too? It's floating? It's backwards, isn't it? I'm so sad. Oh, sure. Did I talk about that tool for setting up paddles? Okay. If you have a sonic boom and your accelerator looks like this,
That'd be a piece of cement.
that's a piece of who knows what. But if those runs are not straight across, every one of these, every single one of them is bent. If you have one, I'll say maybe you can straighten it. If you got more than two, that rotor's done. Because it went this way. It twisted it. So never, I don't know, I always look at that thing and say, let's see, where's the seat? If that thing decides to really fly apart. It's about right here, your butt. So cover your butt, don't run a bad rotor. It ain't worth it. There's enough injuries involved with cutters as it is. So don't try to shortcut on things like that. When you're inspecting like your blower backs, every one of these lines is a worn out part, and they just happen to coincide with the opposite stack of this wrench, of the paddle stack. So that's how much wear is off of here. When you start to be able to run your fingers across it, you can feel every one of those bumps with that kind of blower back. It's not shot yet, but it's getting close. If you can feel them, it's time. Always remember to replace the mat behind it. When you replace this style, there's a piece of flat bar bolted in here on the top 3 bolts that kicks it forward to help get it past the tower liners. If you don't have that piece of steel in there, anybody appreciate art? This is yard art. If you don't have those in there, it's going to wear off across here. All the feed's going to hit right here and sharpen this right up really good. When you're doing inspections of the towers or any wear part, First thing you want to do is look at it, see if you see any pockets where there's feet hung up. Next, when you wrench in, gloves, preferably leather gloves, you can find these spots like this one that are just sharper than sharp. Here's a hole that's got a bad spot in it. These things can cut you quite bad. I told you guys about 5 or 6 years ago, I ended up in the hospital for a week with blood poisoning from corn mold. I dropped a John Deere, the pan under the knives, dropped it. I couldn't get my hand back, it landed across 3 fingers. We took the hospital in Bellingham 4 days to figure out what the infection was from. So, just beware, keep your hands covered up. At least if I had a glove on, I probably wouldn't have got the corn mold in there. Just sort of stitched it up and sitting in my way. Inspect these tower liners. Somebody asked the easiest way to put them in. Once you get them out, horsepower, right? Yeah. Clean it out, wire brush it, clean it out as much as you can. Spray it down with penetrating oil, something slippery. Take the first one, slam it up in there. And I just use a tall bottle jack like I use for a cherry picker. Set it on the floor. And if you got to push hard enough that you're going to start bending that floor, it's not going to fit right. Make sure it's shoved all the way against the front. And just jack it up in there and tap on the housing as it's going in. The front one's the easy one. Then when you go in with the back one, I haven't played with any of the Mad Jag ones, but I always take these and stick it in a vise to about here and bend the bottom corners out so that it'll, when it gets in here and goes in against the other one, it'll stay to the outside, it doesn't pop inside. You join it with a whip. And then the same thing, slam it up as high as you can, take the bottle jack and just jack on it, smack on here with a dead blow hammer, and don't rail on the thing, and wiggle jiggle, it'll pop up into place. It's much better than just beating the crud out of it trying to get it in. Early machines 492s, when we're changing this plate, if you want it cheap, take the bolts out of the cab mounts, just jack it up about that far. You should be able to get your fat hand in there and get to the bolts and get a ratchet on it. The long bolts back here on the new liners. That's the first group I remembered this for. On the new liners, they're using plow bolts here. So no more wearing off the heads of the bolts. That used to be the gauge to know how long it would last. I always used to say you could run 2 sets of bolts before you had to replace it. 2 sets of bolts and then replace it. Yep. And now they went away from my gauge, so I don't have a rule for you anymore. But when you're wrenching around the front to get to these bolts, a nice long wrench really helps. I told one of the groups that if your machine comes, yes.
I just use whiz nuts, and then you can just
shoot it in with it
from this side.
Yep. When you got the Allen head ones, you can. Yep, that works nice. When your machine comes back from here, it will work for half of you guys. And this wrench is still laying on here. Would you send it back, please? Because when I drive down the road and one of your cows is on the road, I usually bring it back. You make your living with your cow, I make my living with my wrenches. It does happen occasionally that we lose things. I didn't know you made mistakes. That wasn't a mistake. I want to see if you were honest. Oh. Okay. Wagon spout guys. You got a wagon spout still. Dave's got a wagon. No, yeah, we still got a wagon spout. There's a couple of them. Okay. The last bulletin from Claas, the same one that talked about some other stuff. They mentioned the sideliners and spouts. What they've realized is that people weren't getting them shoved up against the wrapper, and they're leaving a gap. And what it's causing is feed's getting up on top of it, and theory says that's what made these holes in this spout. These feed was getting too far to the edge. There's a lot more to that one than that. But so what they're saying is make sure when you put liners in on the sides and you shove them all the way to the top as high as you can get them, make sure they're tight. Any place that feed's hanging up on the side here, all of a sudden more feed's hanging up, and it's gone. Side liners, kind of an easy one to look at. But this bolt right here is the one that's holding your harness for your wires and your hydraulic hoses. If you look back and that P-clamp is just kind of hanging off to the side, chances are your liner's about ready to go because the head of that bolt's gone. And if that liner's creeping out, it's going to see, it's just going to keep going over and over because feed's getting in behind it through that hole. And it will actually, we had one come in and that spout was squished down probably by a third. So check those side liners, and if you're side blowing, that side's always going to go. If you're blowing to the right. On wagon spouts, I've been rumbling about it for a while, and nothing's going to change because that's kind of ending. Wagon spouts is kind of going to be a thing that's past. On this liner, this one hasn't been trimmed, this one has. These are tight against the angle iron, this one's got about a 1/16 of an inch or better gap. You can take and trim, the new liner's got to trim that piece out so it'll fit all the way up. The complaint that we're seeing with feed blowing, if it's coming out, if it's not a nice steady stream, you know, Graham's talking about the pulsers, you're supposed to have 10,000 pulses, and anything you can do to prevent wadding it up is great. And that counts all the way to the end, right up till it's coming out of the spout. This particular spout, it wasn't blowing well. First thing I noticed was this gasket was peeling out. That was odd. But oh well, it's got these patches and holes in the side, so that's got to be causing an issue. So, as you can see, I didn't open it, but I thought, well, I'd check the side liner, so I took the wrapper off the front, and I reached up in here. There's a big hole in this liner here. So the feed was coming up, hitting that, and going straight down and hitting here. It was going out the end. And those liners, they've got the same thing. This one is the last section in a high arch. This will be the last one before the deflector. It's worn on the sides, it's worn here. Kind of an easy way to gauge on the liner how thick it is you can drop the carriage bolt or the little Allen head bolts out. Oh, you know, there's still quite a bit of head left. Like over there, problem is it's right behind the bolts where it bore through. So you've got to reach through there and try to reach every inch of it. Because that customer said, oh, I felt it in there and I couldn't feel it. Yeah, unless you got really, really long arms, my arm goes to about right there when you reach into the end. As far as I can go, yeah, it feels good. Don't feel any ripples or anything. So, yeah, hey, it can't be that. It's amazing what you can see with a borescope or a mirror and a flashlight. Any questions on upper discharge? I heard the one comment about ring gears. Where'd Cole go? Oh, yeah. Is yours worn out bad? Teeth are half gone?
Yeah, replaced last year.
That's right.
Last year?
Was it?
Yeah, last year.
It was anything more than 2 weeks ago. I have trouble remembering.
I don't remember what it was. Is it last year before 1 to 2?
Okay.
Okay, so how often, you know, we went through the whole chopper. We didn't do anything with the spout. We did inspect it, and I shouldn't say I.
John looked at it. And
John and Kyle said it was all smooth.
it's all smooth.
But what, you know, I feel like there's a tad bit of, after chopping Monday, no, none of that. Seems like this.
Then it wiggles left, right. Look at the ring gear, where the ring gear and where the worm gear is.
Well, I understand that. I can have some hold.
Well, you can tighten up where this ring gear sits.
Okay.
Or shaft.
The other side, wore it out. You gotta
We didn't talk about the bearing behind on this worm shaft, and that goes out into the next bearing right there. Check that bearing, because that's letting the shaft.
Like the truck's moving.
Yeah. I think everybody's had one.
Trying to not get it before.
And there's another one. We got to do
Get it to the right where it wants more out here.
But yep, I would look at it. One thing that is amazing is that I was looking at part numbers. This worm gear on here, part number hasn't changed from way back. Evidently, they did that right when they designed that, because they didn't have much trouble with it.
So after I get up to the knives.
Okay, like I said before, we're going to be here until 8 o'clock tonight. I know what time dinner is, but if you've got questions about pretty much anything, find me. If you've got questions on processors, he's the guy. Ask Lyndon. If it's shear, you want something changed, you want it cheaper and to last forever. Ever heard that before?
Impossible.
Yeah. So, but I encourage everybody to buy the books. It just saves on things. It's no good to me. I was just looking.
Hey, Mark.
Yes.